FTPMovieShow.com.
A Paris court has found the ringleader and 7 other people guilty in the 2016 robbery of Kim Kardashian. The court acquitted 2 of the 10 defendants. ABC's Enes de la Catera has details.
They are on the older side. They were dubbed the grandpa robbers by French media because many of them are in their 60s and 70s. And so the judge said that ethically he felt he couldn't sentence them to more than 8 years in prison, which is the maximum sentence for one of the defendants.
The only woman on trial got 4 years in prison. 6 people dead in Thursday's crash of a small business jet that hit a San Diego neighborhood. ABC's Alex Stone has the latest on the NTSB's probe into the crash.
A key part of the investigation is focused on the airplane's altitude as it was landing and it hit high-tension power lines. Why the plane was low enough to hit them is not yet clear. NTSB investigator in charge, Dan Baker, saying it's been determined the plane did not have a flight data recorder as they hoped it would.
No, the airplane was not equipped with a flight data recorder. We're investigating whether it was equipped with a cockpit voice recorder.
A weather reporting system, along with a system impacting runway lighting and arrival glide slope, were all not working. It's unknown if that played a role in the crash. Alex Stone, ABC News.
AAA expects 45 million Americans are traveling this Memorial Day weekend, most by car, but still millions by air. Things actually running smoothly at recently trouble-plagued Newark Airport, Boston, and Fort Lauderdale leading in flight cancellations. Dave Packer, ABC News.
Oh no, stomach issues again?
Stomach issues?
Who are you?
Your pancreas. I could be the real reason for your diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose oily stools.
I thought it was my stomach.
People often do, but any of these symptoms could mean having a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and speak with your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
News Talk 610 AM and 102.1 FM. KVNU.
5:05 now, and with your KVNU News headlines, I'm Will Fiore. Well, most Utahns are looking forward to the holiday weekend, and while the Utah Highway Patrol wants the public to have fun, it also wants drivers to practice safe habits while traveling to their destinations. Now, yesterday marked the start of the 100 deadliest days of summer. Utah Highway Patrol troopers and the Utah Department of Transportation issued their annual reminder for people to practice safe, good driving habits while traveling this summer, as this year's campaign slogan is Drive Good. Now, so far, a total of 82 people have been killed on Utah roads this year leading up to the Memorial Day weekend. And Utah Highway Patrol Major Jeff Nebeker says that the biggest contributors to those crashes that troopers are seeing are speed, not buckling up, and distracted driving. And in a sure sign that summer is finally coming to Cache Valley, Logan City officials announcing earlier this week that the splash pad at the Carol and Jim Law Plaza in downtown Logan will be opening tomorrow. Officials with the Logan Parks and Recreation Department posted on social media that citizens should come downtown, cool off, and make a splash. Now, the community water feature will be open from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. and will be open daily from Monday through Sunday throughout the summer months. Now, in addition to the splash pad, officials also added the Law Plaza features self-directed games, shaded tables, and snacks from local food spots. And a proposal by Congresswoman Celeste Malloy to sell thousands of acres of public land in the state was yanked from President Trump's big, beautiful bill that was approved by the U.S. House of Representatives earlier this week. Now, the effort was pulled by House Republican leadership as they did the reconciliation process. Representative Malloy had proposed selling 11,000 acres of Bureau of Land Management area in southern Utah. A similar measure by a Nevada congressman had also been put through to try to sell 500,000 acres of land in Nevada. Now, Malloy had said that her lands amendment would have delivered critical relief to fast-growing communities in her district. Even though it was pulled from the bill, she says she will continue to fight for Utahns' responsibility to manage federal lands on their own that are currently landlocked or being controlled by the federal government. Well, clear skies continuing overnight tonight as we've been in the high 70s today. Now, tonight we'll drop into the mid-40s, then be back into the mid-70s for tomorrow and Sunday. Low 80s coming for Memorial Day Monday, as overall we're going to enjoy mostly sunny skies. Could see a small chance of a possibility of some thunderstorm activity, primarily Expected to be maybe Sunday and into Monday, but overall, mostly clear skies. And looks like by the middle of next week, it's going to definitely start feeling like summer as we'll be into the mid-80s. And it's Triton Medical Supply and Transportation that brings you our weather here. This is part of the news. They can take care of all of your top quality medical soft goods and also provide non-emergency medical transportation to and from medical appointments. It's Triton Medical Supply and Transportation. And I'm Will Theorite with your KVNU News headlines.
Today's hearing aid technology can improve not only your life, but the lives of the people who care about you. Once again, you'll be able to hear the reason for their laughter and understand conversations. Dr. Paul Danes at Cache Valley Hearing and Audiology will customize a hearing improvement program to meet your unique requirements, whatever they are. Call Cache Valley Hearing and Audiology for an appointment and let them show you how.
Bring back what you've been missing. Bring back Cache Valley Hearing and Audiology.
For the people, weekday afternoons from 4 till 6 on News Talk KVNU, 610 AM and 102.1 FM.
When it comes to home care, it's important to know you have a choice. If you or a loved one is in need of hospice or home health services, remember that Primrose Home Care and Hospice believes in treating the patient as well as the problem. We work directly with you and your doctor to create a health plan that's catered to your needs. Our team is devoted to providing options in the freedom and safety of your own home. Visit us at primrosecare.com or call to schedule a free consultation. Primrose Home Care and Hospice, your local hospice and home health provider since 2006.
Senior Moments, sponsored by the Empowering Seniors Group on News Talk KVNU.
My name is Bruce Lee. I'm here with my co-host Sid Roeder. We're here for another fun show.
This radio show is sponsored by the Empowering Seniors Group, which is a group of professionals that has dedicated their time and efforts to provide information that is hopefully useful to seniors, their family members, caretakers, and really anybody who's interested.
Senior Moments, every Saturday morning at 7:30 right here on News Talk KVNU.
Welcome back to KVNU's For the People. I found Sounds of the Department Store 1979 collection of music here at the Radio Ranch. We've got everything. It's the For the People movie show with Andy Morgan joining us in just a bit. He's been delayed by traffic. We've got a lot to talk about. It is a big movie a big movie weekend. Both, what's already in theaters from previous opening weekends still playing here in Logan to the new stuff, and also tickets on sale for the upcoming stuff as well. It's officially summer movie season. So last Friday we started summer movie season preview. We got to the end of June. The goal today is we're going to get through July and August. I don't know if it's going to happen. I think this might end up being a three-part thing, but there is so much. And if you've been to the theater recently, you've seen some posters, some trailers, things like that. It feels a little bit like 2018 when we had, that's going too far. 2018 was too much. That year was one of, Andy and I talk about this all the time. It was one of the biggest release years and box office years on record, I think. And that's not sustainable, right? that isn't something that could go on forever. But yeah, everything that year, The Nightingale, they Shall Not Grow Old. That was, if you haven't seen that, 12 Strong, The Farm, which was a weird horror movie. 1,000 Miles Behind. You had, these are some of the more obscure ones, but you had some big ones too, big money makers, and even some records set. And of course, Marvel was in their heyday. You had it was a big year for indie movies too, and comedies as well. Just a lot. And this summer kind of feels a little bit back in that vein. By the way, we don't talk about this enough, but one of my favorite 2018 movies, if you haven't seen it, I don't really know where you can see it right now. I'll check for you. It looks like it's on Hulu and Apple TV and for rent on Amazon Prime. But Bad Times at the El Royale. It got buried. And the reason, that's why I bring that up, because there was so much coming out in 2018 that a lot of stuff that was really good just kind of got forgotten, and this was one of them. Bad Times at the El Royale stars Jeff Bridges, John Hamm, Chris Hemsworth, Dakota Johnson, Louis Pullman, before anybody knew who he was, Kylie Spaney, Cynthia Erivo, Nick Offerman in a bit role, Russell Crowe in a bit role. I mean, this movie had everything that would make a movie a blockbuster, and then it just wasn't. But it wasn't because it wasn't good. It was great. You should see it. But it's currently sitting at an 89% on Just Watch audience scores, 75% on Rotten Tomatoes, and nobody saw it. It cost $32 million to make. It made it cost $32 million to make. It made I think about $150 million total worldwide box office. It's directed by Drew Goddard, who did Cabin in the Woods way back in 2011. He did Cloverfield in 2008, The Martian with what's-his-face in 2015, based on the Andy Weir book that's really good. He's also going to be directing Hail Mary, also based on Andy Weir's book, and Daredevil, the original pre-Disney Plus reboot Daredevil series that was on Netflix 2015 to 2018. So again, a well-known director, some great writing. It had sort of the feel of a Quentin Tarantino movie, sort of really dialogue-driven. The entire thing takes place at this tiny little motel, like one of those drive-right-up-to-the-door motels that's out in the woods in Northern California somewhere, and it's a crime movie. It's a murder mystery, too. And it has a twist. It was a really, really good movie, but because there was so much coming out in 2018, nobody saw it, and it barely made any money. So the reason I bring this up is because, again, this summer's starting to look similar, and so I'm urging people to go see. I know it's a little harder here in Cache Valley to do this. It's a drive, to see a lot of the offbeat. I hate using that word, but a lot of the offbeat stuff isn't coming to Cache Valley. So you're going to have to go to Ogden or Salt Lake to see that. And I think that Art House in Ogden close. It might be going to Salt Lake, period. But do, because that's when you get to see stuff like, Bad Times at the El Royale, which is a great movie if you haven't seen it. So we have a lot coming to theaters. It's going to be a big summer again. We got through June last Friday, you remember, on our summer movie preview, and we'll make our way through July and August today when Andy arrives. And it's honestly, take notes kind of summer movie season. There's schlocky stuff you have, Into the Deep, The Gorge, things like that. But there's also, this is a great observation too, a listener saying it's already been a good movie year. That's true. There's been some pretty impressive stuff. Mickey 17, just earlier this year. If you didn't see that, that's a standout for me. The Monkey, loosely based on Stephen King's short story. So yeah, there's a lot. Anyway, we'll get right back to it. Andy Morgan joining us here in the studio for the For the People Movie Show, continuing our summer movie preview right after this.
News Talk 610 AM, 102.1 FM, KV. KVNU.
One day, one massive parking lot, thousands of deals. It's Cache Valley's biggest garage sale. June 21st, 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the Eccles Ice Center parking lot. It's the ultimate community yard sale with bargains galore and a kids' fun zone, food vendors, and thousands of deals to be made. Bring your stuff or bring your wallet. Whether you're a family looking to declutter or a business ready to unload inventory, there's a space for you. First come, first served. For details, sign up, and payment information, go to CacheValleyGarageSale.com. It's Cache Valley's biggest garage sale, June 21st at the Eccles Ice Center.
Do you have a nasty weed problem? We have the right person for you. Sir, you work for Logan Extermination, don't you? Can you help these folks get rid of pesky dandelions?
Of course I can help. I am the Terminator. I will terminate those little yellow devils in your yard. Call me at Logan Extermination, 752-8450.
Terminate your weeds and green up your lawn for only $45, based on maximum 5,000 square feet.
Still overpaying for outdoor gear? Don't miss the best prices at Al's Sporting Goods Outdoor Expo Sale. Over 60% off the Kelty Outskirt Pack, $49.99. Jimmy Sticks Inflatable Paddleboard Kit, only $199.99. Camelback Mini Mule Hydration Packs, $29.99. Quick Shade 10x10 Canopies, only $69.99. Plus thousands of carved sunglasses, $7.99. Yukon 65-quart Wheeled Cooler, $179.99. Shop these deals and more now through Memorial Day. Al's Sporting Goods in Logan and online at als.com. Every sport, every season.
Hi, this is Gordon Deal. Tuesday on This Morning, America's First News. The prostate cancer diagnosis for former President Biden still has political ramifications for fellow Democrats, even with him out of office. We'll explain. Also, health savings accounts are getting a boost in the budget plan approved by House Republicans. Hear how you might benefit. And how you can still negotiate a fair job offer in the current environment. Tuesday on This Morning, America's First News. From 4 to 6 on News Talk KVNU, 610 AM and 102 FM. Your station for news and talk.
KVNU's For the People. Sounds of the Department Store, 1979.
Do you know how many kids hid to this music in the clothes?
You want to hear my funniest? And I didn't even hide. This was, I was very young. That's my excuse. But Return of the Jedi was coming out.
Okay.
And, but it hadn't hit theaters yet. But they had the comic book at, am I old enough that it was Grand Central still?
Yeah, probably. It was Grand Central when I was alive.
Would it have been then?
When I was alive,
84,
as opposed to now when I'm not.
That was, so I knelt down. I was there with my mom and my sister, who was younger than me, and she didn't get lost. But I told them, I'm going here. And I'm going to read this. Let me know when you're done shopping.
We've got a code, Adam.
Yeah, it was. So I read through it. I didn't read the end because I want to know how it ended. But I flipped through it, looked at all the pictures. I don't know, probably half an hour. I don't know. And then I got bored. There wasn't, and so I'm like, well, I'm going to go find them. And when I walk out, they're at the service desk. Mom's in tears. My little sister in tears, and they're just about to call the police.
Did you get a spanking?
I got talking to you, and my whole defense was, I told you I was going here. And my mom said, well, I didn't think you'd sit there the whole time we were shopping.
Like, come on.
You underestimate your Star Wars fan son is what you've done. Yeah. Anyway, and that music was playing.
You know,
just a little.
I got in trouble. Long-time residents of Cache Valley that are, I don't know, I'm going to say over the age of probably maybe 35 to 40, maybe 40 for sure. You're an I age, which is 77, definitely. But do you remember the store in the Cache Valley Mall called Jane's Toys and Hobbies?
Yeah.
It was that. I
haven't thought of that in years.
There was three places you could buy toys in the valley at this time. Yeah. It was Grand Central, to your point.
Yeah.
Jane's Toys and Hobbies, which ended up becoming KB Toys later.
Yeah,
and then
they ruined it.
And then Kmart.
Yeah.
Oh, and King's.
And every once in a while, once a year, you get that big trip down to Toys R Us.
That's right. Or
Yeah,
no. Lionel Playworld.
Oh, that's right. It was Lionel Playworld.
Yeah.
Before Toys R Us.
But
do you remember LeBeau's? Or not LeBeau's. It was something like that. There was a catalog. But then they also had a store in Ogden attached to the mall. And it was not LeBeau's. It was that's something. But they had discount Star Wars toys.
I wish I'd have known about that.
Do you remember ZCMI's tiny little toy section?
You could find gyms there.
They had the ad at Walker.
Yeah. And
I know that because it was never purchased for me. And I tried every time we went to ZCMI.
They also had that Kings, the bottom of Kings, remember, was toys
they had
too.
a big Star Wars collection.
Yeah, so there was
a lot of action
figures
figures
there. There were some places to look. And every once in a while,
those head injury stairs, remember those?
Right.
They were uneven and had a metal edge.
That's correct. Oh, my gosh, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
But here's a funny story. So I was in the mall with my mom. She was shopping, I'm pretty sure, at ZCMI. This was back in the day when you'd just be like, it's okay, goodbye, and your kids would just wander away. What's going to happen? What's the worst that's going to happen? We don't even wear seatbelts in this house. You know what I mean? So anyhow, I wander over to Jane's Toys and Hobbies, and they had this.
It's okay, goodbye.
They had this die-cast Millennium Falcon, right?
I remember those.
And I thought, and I just wanted to play with it. I just wanted to know what it felt like in my hands. So I opened it in the store out of the package, and I'm like flying it around. And the guy that works there is just looking at me, and I'm looking at him, and I'm little enough that I'm like, what? And he's like, what is this kid? And he kind of knows what's going to happen. Like, you know, he like knew what I was going to do.
I know what's going to happen.
So I'm playing with this. And then my mom, I'm like, I probably should go check. So I just set it down in the aisle and walked away. He watches me walk out, and there's my mom. And he takes it and he walks out, and he basically was like, your boy just opened this. Who's paying for it? And she was like, I will murder you.
Did she have to pay for it?
We did. And here's the thing. In the back of my head.
That is a smart way to get a toy.
No. See, this is the thing. This is
I didn't know I couldn't do that.
This is the cleverness of my parents. My mom was like, You know, I'm in my mind, I was like you, Jason. I was like, ding, ding, ding. Look what I got. Right?
Board.
She's like, you're grounded. And I thought, okay, I'll be grounded, but then this toy will be mine. It might have been worth it. Anyhow, that's not what happened. They made me wrap it up and give it to a friend for his birthday the next week.
That's rough.
You know, and do you ever notice
very
those
kind of you,
those dumb things you say as a kid too? When you say things like you give a present to your friend, and you're like, "Yeah, I really like it. You should let me play with it, or maybe even take it home." The friend's like, "What? I thought it was mine."
Why do you keep saying that every time you come here?
That's right. Hey, you should let me borrow this. I'll trade you. Let me have the at Walker. You can play with my Cantina playset.
My Star Wars. This is King's too, with the metal stairs, the head injury stairs. I got I got an R2-D2 model, 12 inches high, but you had to glue it together with that very toxic glue.
Yeah.
Back in the 80s, that's how we did things. But
I'm gonna have this along with my saccharin.
Yeah. And my tab. Just gonna wash this glue down with some tab.
Is there a Virginia
my
Slim
liver quit. I'm 8. 8 years old. Liver's done. So when I got the R2-D2, I opened it in the store because I wanted to see how big the parts were, and it went everywhere.
Oh no!
And so R2-D2 was missing a piece.
Oh.
Because we couldn't find it in the store, but we bought it anyway. So months later, I finally convinced my mom to get me the C-3PO model that matched.
No.
And I opened that one in the car.
And it melted?
Against her advice.
Oh.
And I lost the shoulder piece.
You lost a piece.
It went in the car seat. Never found it ever. I think it did turn up like on a California vacation years later. But
Isn't that funny how your parents tell you stuff? Like I remember,
you never listen.
After Empire Strikes Back came out in 81 or 80. I remember I was like, it's so cool that it was not cool that they froze Han Solo, but I was like, I could do this, right? Like I could make my own carbon freeze chamber.
Yeah.
So I basically was like, well, in my story, R2-D2 gets frozen. And so I put him in a bowl and with water and then I kind of like made it so that he could, he floated. Because remember how Han Solo, he's frozen, but like parts of him are sticking out,
fingertips.
Yeah, and that was really cool. So I put R2D2 in, and I was like, hope this happens. It did. He froze, and I pulled him out. I thawed him, and then I dropped him on the floor, and because he was still cold, he shattered.
Oh,
so I lost R2. It was very sad.
That's kind of
very sad. I'll be honest.
This is also the same kind of thing, recreating the scenes with the figures. That's why my R2D2 never had any stickers. My R2D2 was always naked because the stickers would come off.
Were you
the minute you got him wet the first time?
Yeah. Were you? We were actually laughing about this on May the 4th. We had a little party for my nephew, and we were talking about how his toys are so cool. And then we were talking about some of the toys we had, growing up for Star Wars. Like I talked about the, 18-inch lightsaber I had that had an inflatable tube that you blew up, and then it was yellow. And parents and everybody thought it was cool. They're like, look, you got a lightsaber. And I'm like, there are no yellow lightsabers.
Not a lightsaber.
It's not a lightsaber. Anyway.
Also, this squeaks.
Yeah, I had, we talked about, there were some other cool things, like some of the guns, like Han Solo's gun, and obviously some of the play sets. But I said, remember the Star Wars figures like Luke, Obi-Wan, Darth Vader, when they first came out, the lightsabers were built into the arm. You remember that?
Yeah, they'd slide out the wrist.
Slide in.
And they were like half an inch long.
The Kenner, yeah. And the capes were made out of plastic.
It was the first thing that broke.
Yeah.
Always.
Anyway, those are fun. Those are fun memories to think about.
If somebody had a Darth Vader that still had the cape and the lightsaber, you knew they just got it.
Yeah, for real.
Speaking of Star Wars, as we go to the news, really quick, Andor Season 2 appears to be Disney Plus's
highest
first, okay, you did it. I think they've done really well with some stuff.
I love
Andor.
Really,
Season 1.
It's almost just like a continuation of that. They're like, you guys did really well with this. This, you killed it with this.
Yeah, everyone is talking about this. Even people who didn't like. So I think the best thing Disney has done with the Star Wars franchise so far, on the streaming service at least, is the Obi-Wan series, and Andor one up that, and now Season 2. I have a confession though. I haven't started Season 2.
I have not either.
I decided to rewatch Season 1.
Yeah,
and then got distracted.
Well, I will say this:
by The Sopranos, which I've seen a million times.
I will say this: something's got to come along right now and sort of take the attention away. And we haven't had a Star Wars movie when
that's next summer,
when Mandalorian and Grogu come out next May or June, whenever it is, in 2026.
Yeah.
It'll be, what is that, 7 years since we've had a Star Wars feature film. Something's got to come in and sort of take the focus off, because superhero movies right now, again, we'll see what Superman does in July.
I think Superman has the potential to be
but Thunderbolts
have the damn burst finally.
We'll see if Superman underperforms, magnificently underperforms.
Then people are just done.
I don't think people are. I think what you've lost is you have the hardcore population that are still going to go.
Yeah.
What you've lost is the general audience, which is what was growing your box office during the heyday.
Yeah.
And I think Thunderbolts is very tragically has kind of showed this. Thunderbolts is one of the best reviewed Marvel movies, both from fans and from audiences in a long, long time. And it is stalled at 100 money at 162. Now I'm talking domestic.
Clown in a Cornfield's doing better. Well, budget to box office ratio.
Yeah, I mean, worldwide, Thunderbolts is at 332 million, and it's the low. Depending on where it lands, I think it'll still probably creep in somewhere close to 200 million when the summer's over. But you're talking about, again, one of the lowest grossing Marvel movies in their entire span.
Yeah.
Which is, again, just so weird to me because it is so fantastic.
It's honestly the best thing since Black Panther.
Yeah, people have I just really am starting to believe that people have cape fatigue. They're just kind of fatigued out with so much superhero content.
But that gets back
all
to
the phases.
That gets back to how we got on Star Wars. That same thing I think happened with Star Wars.
Yeah.
Solo is a good example. Solo is actually a really good movie.
Yeah.
but because of the timing, because of
just the onslaught.
Yeah. I was talking about this in the context of 2018, that the year of the movie, basically. And the example I used was Bad Time at the El Royale. I mean, this is Chris Hemsworth, Jeff Bridges,
right.
a great director, a great writer, Quentin Tarantino-ish movie, very dialogue-driven. It's a crime story that takes place at a hotel. I mean, it's a really good movie. Nobody cared.
Right.
But I think nobody cared because it came out in 2018.
Yeah.
And it was just wall-to-wall blockbusters that year.
That and 2019 were the highest. There was more movies domestically released those 2 years than ever before.
But Thunderbolts doesn't have that excuse.
No, I mean, well, we could make the argument again. We've talked about this, that there's so much happening. Here's another little thing I'd throw out, too, is, it may just be less about, Minecraft, superhero fatigue. And it may just be like, people being more picky and choosy because we're going to talk about Mission Impossible, which I saw this week. And
the final.
Yeah. And both Mission Impossible and Lilo and Stitch, which are the new movies in theaters this week, both did very well last night at preview screenings. I believe the numbers I saw come in for Lilo and Stitch were close to 12 million in preview screenings, and Mission Impossible came in at 8. And I said that to somebody, and they were like, "Oh, that doesn't." And I'm like, "No, it's actually the highest for a Mission Impossible preview screening."
Really?
Yeah. So
that's interesting.
We'll see what those. I mean, this is usually a giant weekend. We'll see what happens, with those two anchors of movies. I at this point, I would not be surprised if Lilo and Stitch is the one that takes the weekend, or if it's neck and neck. But
I know people normally not excited about movies are excited about this movie.
Yeah, and those are the two big movies this week. They'll also probably be the big movies next week. The only other movie that's opening next week, and we won't even really talk about this, and somebody's going to be like, "You jerks," is Karate Kid Legends, the one that no one asked for.
Please don't. Karate Kid.
The one that Ralph Macchio has blackmail on somebody.
Do you have to?
So, but yeah, we'll talk Mission Impossible. I know we got to go to the news. But I got some things to say that are good. Very, very good. I'll give a little teaser. Mission Impossible, if this is the final movie, did what James Bond and its last final movie didn't even come close to doing.
Oh, that's actually nice to hear, because I'm still mad about that. All right, more of the For the People movie show right after this look at the news with KVNU's Will Feel Right.
Well, thank you, Jason. A 27-year-old Logan man has been sentenced to more than 8 months in jail and 3 years of probation after what a deputy called a bizarre series of events involving violating protective orders. Now, Trevor Brett Aslett has been in the Cache County Jail after being arrested February 24th. Aslett was sentenced this week in Logan's First District Court after previously accepting a plea deal, pleading guilty to stalking and possession of a firearm by a restricted person, both third-degree felonies, along with possession of a controlled substance and violating a protective order, both Class A misdemeanors. Now, according to prosecutors, the Cache County Sheriff's Office became involved in Aslett's case, which spanned from at least December of last year to February of this year. Now, Aslett was originally arrested for sending threatening messages to the victim and some family members. He was upset because he did not know where the victim and her child were. Now, in December, the victim went on vacation to Mexico with her family, and at the same time, Aslett went to California to try to catch a flight to Mexico. Now, he ended up wandering around California until most of his belongings, including his vehicle, were stolen. And for a few days, he was homeless until his family found him and brought him back to Utah, immediately committing him to a behavioral health unit. Now, during this week's sentencing hearing, Aslett apologized to the community and the court, claiming that he wasn't in his right mind at the time the crimes were committed. He said his arrogance and pride had gotten the best of him. Now, Judge Spencer Walsh said that Aslett's actions were troubling, even though he had been suffering from some significant mental health challenges. He sentenced him to 244 days in jail, followed by 36 months of probation. And the stepmother of Gavin Peterson, the 12-year-old boy who suffered 5 years of severe abuse that led to his death, was transported from the Weber County Jail to the Utah State Correctional Facility earlier this week after she was sentenced to 15 years to life. Nicole Lee Scott, a 42-year-old, was placed into the custody of the Utah Department of Corrections after pleading guilty to 8 felony counts, including first-degree murder, aggravated child abuse, and obstruction of justice. And Memorial Day weekend is often viewed as the unofficial start of summer travel, and the holiday weekend could be especially busy across the country, including here in Utah. Now, over 45 million Americans are expected to be traveling at least 50 miles from home between now through Monday. Now, AAA also says that much of that travel will be taking place today and then again on Monday. Now, UDOT says that delays can be expected, especially along I-15 until about 8 o'clock tonight. Now, delays are also expected again tomorrow or on Monday as well. Well, it looks like it is going to be a gorgeous weekend for Memorial Weekend, as temperatures going to stay right around the mid to high 70s the next several days. Monday will be into the low 80s, and then by next week, middle of the week, will be around the mid 80s. Mostly sunny skies expected through the weekend. Could see a small chance still of some isolated thunderstorms that'll just maybe brush through the area Sunday and Monday. But overall, mostly sunny and clear skies. And your KVNU News Update brought to you by Whole Tree Care. Right now is the best time to have those trees and shrubs trimmed. Call Whole Tree Care at 760-6587.
ABC News, I'm Dave Packer. Stocks lower today after President Trump said he wants a straight 50% tariff on the European Union and a 25% tariff on all iPhones made outside the U.S.
This comes after President Trump had paused tariffs on certain tech products that are from China, which was major relief for tech companies like Apple and other companies. But the president now going after Apple, saying that he wants the iPhone completely built, manufactured in the United States. Now, analysts estimate that would add much more costs to the Apple iPhone.
ABC's Selena Wang. On his social media, President Trump announcing a merger between U.S. Steel and Nippon Steel. A judge today blocked the Trump administration from revoking Harvard's ability to enroll international students.
It's 9 o'clock.
Piano man Billy Joel canceling all scheduled concerts after announcing online he's dealing with a brain disorder. He'll undergo physical therapy and expected to make a full recovery. This is ABC News.
Even if a family member has or had dementia, it doesn't mean you will. Dementia affects the brain and your ability to perform daily activities. Lifelong learning will keep your brain healthy and can reduce your risk of dementia. Engage your brain through hobbies and learning new things. For more brain health tips, visit dementia.utah.gov. This message is brought to you by the Utah Alzheimer's Association and Alzheimer's Disease and Related Dementias Coordinating Council.
Discover the comfort of outdoor living this year with a project by Canyon Landscaping. Fresh seasonal planting beds, a custom paver patio perfect for barbecues, and subtle landscape lighting to keep the party going long after sunset, or a place to relax after a long day. Every project is designed around how you live. Professionally installed, on budget and on time. Ready to create the perfect outdoor space? Visit canyonlandscaping.com to view the gallery. Canyon Landscaping. Look for the leaf.
Tuesday edition, Clay Travis, Buck Sexton Show. We will get you up to date with everything that happened over the big Memorial Day weekend festivities. What is the latest on the Senate as they pursue a brand new passage of the big, beautiful bill? And what is the continued fallout of the ongoing battle over tariffs? Come hang with us Tuesday right after Memorial Day.
10 to 1 on News Talk KVNU, 102 FM and 610 AM.
Welcome back to KVNU's For the People movie show with Andy Morgan here in the studio. Reviews now on the latest and supposedly last with Tom Hanks. I did that last week too, didn't I? Tom Hanks in Mission Impossible.
I wish I could do a good impersonation.
Run, Jenny, run.
Yeah. Hi, Luther.
Wilson. Tom Cruise.
Yeah, this is
supposedly the last one he will be in.
Well,
right?
and we're in 2025, right? So this is the 8th movie, I believe, in the franchise.
Wow, is it? Oh, yeah.
8th movie, yeah. The first one came out in 1996, Brian De Palma. And it was really, very well-received movie, did well at the box office.
Great action film.
Great cast. And then, they kind of they pivoted. In the second movie, they lost, they had Anthony Hopkins came in.
That didn't work.
And it was directed by John Woo, who was coming off of, Face Off success and Broken Arrow, his kind of, doves, slow motion doves and a lot of slow motion, very stylistic action. I actually,
about the dove.
I don't hate Mission Impossible 2. It is corny, when you watch it now. It doesn't really hold up.
Yeah.
So, there was a big pause, and then about 6 years later, they came back to the franchise with J.J. Abrams, kind of made his mark. He'd done very well with Lost and Alias on television, and so
that was his first feature, right?
I believe so. Yeah. And so 2006, J.J. Abrams comes in with that movie and really kind of put Mission Impossible back on the map. And I think, then you had Brad Bird that came in with the fourth movie. Brad Bird was his first feature film that wasn't, he had done The Incredibles. And that was the one where
live action.
Tom Cruise. I almost said Tom Hanks because of you.
Sorry.
Tom Cruise is on the building. Remember that one? And it was just
Suction
that one.
Cups.
Yeah, and everyone was like, man, we thought J.J. Abrams was good. This guy's just taking it to the next level.
That was probably my favorite. That was when I finally bought into the franchise. When I'm like, okay, these aren't just throwaway. I like this. I'll see everyone.
Yeah, that one. That one was great. That one was really good. And then, so that's 2000. That was Ghost Protocol, by the way, just so we're getting all the titles down. And here, weirdly, Jason, think about this. Mission Impossible, like I said before, 1996. Mission Impossible 2, 2000, so there's 4 years. Mission Impossible 3, there's 6 years. That's in 2006. Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol didn't come out until 2011, so that's another 5 years.
Really?
Then 4 years goes by, and this is when Christopher McQuarrie takes over. And he does, 2015 Rogue Nation, which was very well received.
Yeah.
Mission Impossible Fallout in 2018, very well received. And then last summer, it was Dead Reckoning Part 1. And then obviously now, or not last summer, summer 2023, July 12th. Should know, it's my birthday. That was Dead Reckoning Part 1. And now this is the Final Reckoning that has just come out this today.
And that was also, so the fourth movie is also when they started this kind of running plot. That went from film to film a little bit.
Yeah, and the cast
I think that helped it.
I think what was really good, too, is that you kept the most of the same cast. You had Ving Rhames, you had Simon Pegg. You'd have different people that would kind of, pop in, for other roles. But here's what makes... I'm not going to recap what really happened in the Part 1, Dead Reckoning. But to, again, to kind of give everyone just a maybe 30-second small recap, it's Tom and his team, or Ethan Hunt and his team. There's this AI out there. Everybody wants it. World governments are trying to get it. And it was they found it. They found the key to unlock this in this nuclear submarine. It was at the bottom of the, somewhere in the Arctic Ocean. Anyhow, and so they want to find the cruciform key. It looks like a cross, blue side, red side, and that's what, kind of controls this entity. And the main villain is kind of working with the entity. That's this AI that's evolving. And, when we get to the end of the movie, Tom Cruise is essentially,
once it's in your head,
he again just somehow pulls it out of left field, and he's got this key, and he's like, I am disappearing because no one should have this. Nobody should have this key. Mm-hmm. So now we're into the Final Reckoning, this movie that opens today, and
I forgot about all that.
Here's what's so great about the way they land the ship with the Final Reckoning. If this is the final, which I doubt, Mission Impossible movie, will we see one next year? Not next year, but in a couple years, or will we see one?
I would bet 3-4 years.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised you see another 5-6 years go by, and maybe
because this has the potential to be like James Bond, where you can just kind of bring in anybody.
Yeah, you could. It's
no offense to Tom,
no,
but anybody could play Ethan.
Well, and I think
anybody.
Yeah, I mean, part of the allure, at least with the Christopher McQuarrie ones, is, I mean, let's be honest, like Tom Cruise doing his own, like literally death-defying stunts is something that has added to the appeal of the movie. Him jumping out of a C-130, him actually being on top of a building, him actually suspended from a biplane. It's just, it's crazy. He honestly,
Remind me to send you an article that'll make that creepy for you, though.
He knows something that we don't.
I ran across right along those lines. I ran across an article just this week that says Tom Cruise thinks he can't die.
Well, and he might,
and then it gets into why he might actually believe that, and
well, let me say this with Tom Cruise and this movie. So, there's not a lot of new cast of characters in this. There are some new folks that are introduced in bit parts. Nothing that, you're going to be like, oh man, do I need to know this person's backstory? And also
that kind of goes, you can see any of these.
Well, that's what's great.
Without having seen any of the others. You don't have to watch them in order.
Yeah, they kind of recap it in a very unique way to start the movie.
Oh, really?
And here's they do some things in this movie. I don't want to do any spoilers, but they do some things to tie back what's currently happening to earlier moments in the movie franchise. And I'm talking way back. I'm talking 20 years, maybe even back to 1996. They do some things to kind of shore up. Now, here's the thing. That kind of stuff normally annoys me because I'm like, guys, everything doesn't have to be buttoned up. Like, we don't have to know like what midi-chlorians are. We don't have to know where the force comes from. So it's like that kind of thing. Like,
kind of ruined it, George.
Yeah, but it actually works. I when it first popped up, a couple of these like tiebacks, I went, But as the movie went on, I thought, never mind. You guys kind of nailed it, and
it works.
And here's the other thing too. Again, I don't want to spoil the movie. But what I will say is this: again, if this is the final Mission Impossible movie with Tom Cruise, with this crew, or if it's just the final one ever, which I doubt, the way they go out in the ending, and when I say go out, I don't mean like characters going out. I just mean the way they kind of just stick the landing is just almost poetic, because you just, like, you and I talk about this before, like with TV. You've mentioned The Sopranos. I talk about Game of Thrones a lot. People generally get really upset when the shows don't end like they want.
Yeah.
And this is such a, I don't want to call it neutral, but it's just, you just can't be upset at it. You know what I mean? I can't imagine people being like, oh, that's a dumb ending, right?
I like endings like that.
Because it leaves some, it leaves things open. But it also is a closure. It's kind of both. It's weird how it wears both hats.
That's kind of cool, though.
Yeah, and and it's kind of unapologetic in that. It just,
I think
it's almost, you know what it is? It's a bow is what it is. It's taking a bow is really what it is.
I think that's the perfect place to end a series or a franchise, because if you try to supply too much closure, that's when you're going to start disappointing people.
Yeah,
you're going to close it in ways they don't like. But if you leave too much of a cliffhanger, then it's a cop-out.
Yeah.
And that annoys everybody.
You've got to find the middle spot.
You got to hit between those two.
Well, and then you run into the whole thing that people talk about all the time with plot armor. It's like, why didn't this person die? And that's where I think, some shows get into, we talk about this with Game of Thrones, where it's, well, why doesn't this person die? Well, did they need to die? Like, why is that important? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's almost like if you kill him, everyone's mad. If you don't kill him, then it was like you're, again, plot armor kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So, again, this show just, it really nails it. And again, the other thing that just blew me away about this is, after the last movie, you're thinking, what other stunts, again, could death-defying Tom Cruise handle? And he just
how do you one-up yourself
really knocks it out of the park. This is the first movie other than Sinners, and I can't believe I'm going to say this, a Minecraft movie, where I've been like, I need to see that again.
That is
for the year.
So let's talk about that. You finally saw the. Okay, sorry. What was your grade for Mission Impossible?
Straight up A. There's just no way. If this does poorly at the box office, I really can't. I don't know if any of us can predict box office anymore.
Okay. So what? Tell me about this Minecraft. I still haven't seen it.
Yeah, so it's on demand now. You can see it at home in the comfort of your own house. We talked about this.
This is the surprise hit of the year.
This
right?
is the highest grossing movie of the year so far at $418 million. It came out April 4th, so it's been out for, a month and a half, a little over almost 2 months. Yeah, not this next week, but the following week it'll be out for 2 months, and it's made $418 million. Sinners, which is doing really well, has only made 247 only. Yeah, only 247 million. But you know what? Minecraft, what works for me is, normally it's Jared Hess, and Jack Black is Jared Hess's, muse, obviously.
Yeah.
But you know who really steals the show, and I can't believe I'm going to say this, is Jason Momoa really steals the show in this movie.
Really?
When he's in comedy, like when he was in the last Fast and the Furious movie, I honestly wanted to poke my eyes out. It just was too much. I was like, oh, look, it's crazy Jason Momoa acting crazy like he always does in every movie. I honestly think they should go back and remake Game of Thrones Season 1 just so I could see a crazy Khal Drogo. Wow! He's just so... It's not fun. But he kind of takes that persona that people see of him, of this hunky, just really cool dude who's got, just everything going for him. He kind of takes that and he flips it, and he's really just kind of this vulnerable nerd. And it really works. And then Jack Black is just enough Jack Black to be endearing and not annoying. And it's got all that quirky Jared Hess humor and writing where it's, the characters are just so they're just so, I don't know the right word for it. It's just so out there, with their everything from the way they dress to their little quirky, there's a llama in the car. I mean, it's just, there was
really,
I'm not even telling you
they work in a llama somehow.
Multiple times I laughed out loud, very, very, it's a very endearing, heartfelt, over a video game that, where you're clunking blocks down. That's a very minor part of this.
That was my first thought when they said they were making a movie. The game itself doesn't really have much of a plot.
No, but the voice cast in this too is fantastic. Again, when I say voice cast, because there are CGI characters in the Minecraft world. And then Jennifer Coolidge shows up. She was in Jared Hess, his wife, Jerusa, is actually she did Austin Land, which starred Jennifer Coolidge. So, and then Rachel House, she's a very funny actress. She's been in some Marvel movies. Jermaine Clement actually shows up he has an actual physical character. He's an auctioneer of storage sheds, and he's really funny.
Really?
And then a little bit of a spoiler here. The Matt Berry, who everyone knows from What We Do in the Shadows and this is how we talk in Tucson, Arizona.
That's one of my always pops in my head when I hear his name.
He just shows up at the end. I won't say where, just for a moment, and it's just hilarious. But honestly, I can't say enough good things about this movie. It was a very, very big surprise, and I couldn't be happier for Jared Hess and for that whole crew. I mean, I know it's not critics didn't love it, but those critics are missing their souls.
Yeah, that was
missing their souls.
Sometimes I wonder, do you think critics sometimes go back and wish they hadn't piled on in the first week when something becomes a huge hit?
I don't know if they wish they hadn't piled on. What I think happens sometimes is I think there's a difference between there are film critics. Armand White comes to mind, a few others, where it's just their job is to be, to cover something with a critical eye. And and if you're looking for a film review, that's not them. But I just my thing is if you walk into a movie, you're a normal person and you sit down and watch a movie. If you don't like it, I don't I just don't know what's going on. You know what I mean? Speaking of being a little miffed, well, you and I talked about this during the news break off air.
I'm more than a little miffed.
There was a news headline this week that George R. R. Martin is signing on to produce a really very strange adaptation of like the Tales of Hercules, basically.
Yeah.
But it's like instead of Hercules, it's like a farmer.
That's what kind of made it worse.
Yeah.
Because you read the description, you're like, no one wants this. No one wants to see this. No one will see this.
It's from the creator of Bubba Hotep, which I will say is a funny movie. But
it's a hilarious movie. Yeah. But no one wants this.
So I wrote a little piece.
You know what they want, George?
Yeah, I wrote a little piece for AndyTheMovies.com.
I'm looking at it right now.
It's the headline is "Winter is Stalled. George R. R. Martin's long goodbye to Winds of Winter." I'm just telling you,
he's just not going to do it.
Yeah, you'll have to go. I'm not going to read obviously the whole article on air, but I will read the last paragraph here. I said, "Winter isn't coming, folks."
Yeah,
and if it ever does, it'll be ghostwritten, posthumous. And a generation of fans who joined in because of the show will be long past the point of caring. and it is. And it really is. I mean.
So now, a quick question. Do you think this is because of HBO?
Do you
think he's afraid to finish it?
Nope. No, I think he knows that. I don't think he cares. I think he had a baby, this Game of Thrones novels that when it first made it to the screen, he was really excited. Again, we talk about this. 2011 is when Dance of Dragons came out.
Yeah.
It came out a month after, 3 or 4 months after the show premiered.
Yeah.
So it was riding the wave, and it just.
And he kept telling everyone.
I just don't think
next book in 2 years.
He has no incentive to do it because that train left the station. It left the station.
That's kind of
Anyway,
it's too bad though.
Yeah, it is. It's disappointing.
He's a great writer.
We'll get it someday.
But doesn't write anymore.
Just nobody will care. So, but
sometimes I wonder if that's what he's waiting for it just to be long enough.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like trying to make a Halo movie today. But hey, next week we'll come back with some Lilo and Stitch reviews.
I'm excited.
We're gonna. I don't think I'm gonna see Karate Kid Legends. So
what?
Sorry, you guys will have to figure that one out for yourself.
Yeah. Here's my review of that one in advance. See it on some streaming service when you're really bored one night. All right. That's the For the People movie show for this week. We'll be back next Friday at 5 with more.